So, welcome to Tzuzamen.
Shalom Tzili.
Shalom Tzipi.
Shalom.
No,
Shalom Noam.
Hebrew or English?
Shalom.
Hebrew or English?
Hebrew and English. Hebrew and English.
English.
Okay.
So let's start in English and let's see how it goes.
Just to let you know that this is a weekly, every week we have this conversation with people who are inspiring us. And we waited for you for a long time, just that you will know.
Okay,
so now
let's go.
It's Tzuzamen, it's together, and now we have Tzili. Can you please introduce?
Again with this, Noam Semel, the mythological head of the Kamari Theater, the Tel Aviv theater. And just before the Corona, you left the Kamari after how many years? 25, 30?
I've spent 25 and a half years
Whoa.
as the Director General of the Kamari Theater of Tel Aviv.
Right.
But when I reached the age 70, the mayor of Tel Aviv decided that I have to leave the position. And I resigned from the Kamari Theater that I spent as the head of the theater 25% of the whole century, 25 years.
Right.
And I was in vacation. I've lost my wife, my Nava, my beloved Noam Semel, whom you can see on
the wall.
Yeah. It's a painting that has been done in New York, by the way. The whole wall behind me is full and inspired by New York, because we have lived in New York for 4 years when I was the Israeli consul for cultural affairs in America, based in New York. It was a national-wide position. And painting has been done by Menashe Kadishman, the well-known Israeli painter that did it as an homage to my wife, Nava, and to the whole family, having some other paintings of him.
With Noam, you just need to introduce him and then it goes. So, Noam, you can just talk.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
No.
No. You know me.
Good.
I have a lot of things to ask you.
Tzuzamen is togetherness. Am I right?
Right. But you know that, by the way, you were the consul here when I was still in the Kamari Theater. And then we switched. You came in and I left to New York, remember? And you just had your twins, I think, then. They were little.
My twins has been born in New York Hospital. And the bridge took place in 92nd Street Y. And there were many Broadway producers and agents and writers and poets, something like 250 gathered in for lunch in the main auditorium, or one of the big halls of the 92nd Street Y. You know, 92nd Street, one of the most impressive cultural centers of the Jewish life.
One cultural event by himself.
Right.
Because wherever Noam is he produced everything from A to Z in a volume that nobody did before, nobody is going to do. And the interesting thing is,
in Habima.
As you retired from a Kamari, you switched to Habima, the National Theater, to save the theater right away. 2 minutes after.
It means when I've left the Kamari Theater at the end of 2017, and Nava died, and after 7 days of mourning and the 30 days of mourning as well, I began to be a freelancer, a speaker, a lecturer. I hosted a television program in the Israeli broadcasting about culture, and I was an advisor for culture in many institutions in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem. And all of a sudden, one day, it was declared that the Habima National Theater of the State of Israel is under Chapter 11. And the High Court of Tel Aviv decided to choose a lady who became a trustee. She's a lawyer, and a gentleman by the name Chen Berdishim, who is an accountant, and both of them became the trustees of the Habima National Theater. And they had a meeting with me to hear my opinions about what had happened in Habima. And I said to them, I do not know, because I was the opponent. I was the head of the Kamari Theater, which is the municipal theater of Tel Aviv. I have no idea about what is happening behind in Habima. And they asked me to be the director of the theater, to take over the opponent or the colleague or the other. Let's say it's in America, you can't, there's no equivalent, because in America, you don't have such institutions, but let's say Brooklyn Academy of Music and Lincoln Center, okay? So the head of the Lincoln Center is becoming all of a sudden the head of BEM, the Brooklyn Academy of Music. So in Israel, in Tel Aviv, these are the major theaters of Israel, but it's more than a theater. The Camera Theater and the Habima, they are cultural centers, big cultural centers.
Habima was the international theater. And now lately, it didn't become a Tel Aviv theater again?
No. What had happened is that during the last 2.5 years, I was asked by the trustees to find somebody to take the responsibility for the theater, because the government of Israel didn't want to take the responsibility alone. And I succeeded to pursue it. The mayor of Tel Aviv, Ron Huldai, who is a real Zionist, and the municipality, the whole municipality of Tel Aviv, to take over the theater as a municipal organization, but with the slogan, the National Theater of the State of Israel, forever. This is the National Theater of the State of Israel.
Guys, you were chosen because...
Organization, a city organization. And I'm now the Director General of the Habima National Theater, city organization of Tel Aviv. That's it. And this is the story. During the last 2.5 years, I believe that not alone, but in conjunction with the trustees and in conjunction with some celebrities and in conjunction with some figures in the Ministry of Culture, we saved Habima. Habima is now a very, very good organization, financially and artistically. And the main achievement is that we have succeeded to bring back all the audiences of Habima. We have now more than 30,000 subscribers. It's unbelievable. When I began my career at the Habima Theater 2.5 years ago, we had less than 5,000 subscribers. We have now more than...
In Corona time, where everybody got hurt, you grew.
Yeah, you're right. Because we have done many productions in the Corona time, like all kind of television program, all kind of activities via Facebook or television, all kind of television. And we produced many special events, and the Israeli television broadcasted it. So together with my colleague, Moshe Captain, who is the artistic director, we led the boat in this stormy weather and stormy ocean, because in this stormy ocean, we knew that if we shall not do many activities, we shall be drowned. We shall be drowned and we shall be dead. So
as a theater, and I'm not talking about now special events to bring back the audience and fight Corona. As a theater, after 2 years into the Corona, what is the major difference and how do you think it's going to develop? Do you think we're going to have full activity as before, or it's going to be different a little bit?
I believe it's a very good question. First of all, it's the National Theater, so it will be mainly Israeli and Jewish drama on stage. Israeli, we understand Israeli writers, Israeli playwrights, and of course we speak Hebrew, we play in Hebrew. But when I say Jewish, I mean Jewish tema, and I mean Jewish writers or Jewish playwrights. Neil Simon is a Jewish playwright. Tom Stoppard from Britain is a Jewish playwright.
Right.
And we should do next year Neil Simon and Tom Stoppard, the new play that has been produced recently in London, Leopoldstadt, which is a wonderful play. It will be at the Habima Theater on stage during the year 2022. And there will be some other playwrights and activities there is already the theme of Jewish Israeli theater. Jewish Israeli theater. I can say Jewish first element. Jewish Israeli theater.
But there's something, I always thought that nothing can beat theater. From the beginning of the days that people wanted to go to theater from Greece, it will never die because people like to gather, people like to come to hear and listen and share an experience. But there's something that happened lately because of the internet and because of Corona together, and we can see it in the movies, that people go less to movies. They stay home, they watch Netflix, they watch all the others, there's so many. It changes the whole psyche of how to address gatherness and how to address culture. How do you think it will happen in theater? Because every time that something like this happens, I think it's going to change everything.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And my answer is that there is less audience, to be honest with you, in all the theaters, all around the world, all around, including Broadway and West End in London and the Royal Shakespeare Company and the Royal National Theatre in London. But if you do something that is very touching, and the thema and the play and the production and the scenery and the costumes and the dancing and the choreography, and for example, we have now a new production that was opened 2 days ago by the name Yentl, based on Isaac Bashevis Singer. It's a big hit. We have sold 150 performances all around the country and mainly in Tel Aviv within 48 hours. Why? Because the actress by the name Roni Dalumi, she's a singer, is like, she's not the equivalent of Barbara Streisand, but she sings and she played the part of Yentl, and there is a very, very touching atmosphere around the production with 20 actors, and the audience, it's fully booked. Although we do it in a 300 seats auditorium, we have 4 auditoriums at the Habima in the same building. It's not in the main auditorium. In the main auditorium, we have another big hit by the name in Hebrew, Od Choser Hanigun. I don't know how to translate it, but it's about the national poet, Natan Alterman, and his daughter. He was a poetess by the name Tirza Atar, and the songs, it's a very Israeli drama, but it's the story of Israel during the 60s and the beginning of the 70s when he passed away.
But no, we just want to explain a little bit something that people don't know. In Israel, Israel is small, and the audience is very collaborating. You know, people like to go to the theater, but you cannot just sit like in Broadway forever, you know, in the theater for 3 years. It doesn't work this way. And also, we don't have dual cast that one is staying, one is leaving, one is traveling. The same cast is traveling. So basically, between sharing the stage with other productions in the hometown, you know, of Tel Aviv, and then everybody travels all the time all over Israel. So when you say 150 shows already, it's a lot. For Israel, it's a lot. So it's important to
in Habima, the new system is that in the leading parts, we have doubles.
Yeah.
And the doubles are very, very well-known actors.
No, please don't use your hands. Be careful to use your hands like this because it's becoming very big.
The news, every 2 minutes, there is a phrase from the news, what had happened, because as you may know, we are now in the time of the Ramadan, and Israel is very, very anxious about the situation. And we have tonight, in 1 hour and a half, an item about Yentl. And I'm worried if there will be a criminal or a brutal activity in Jerusalem, there will not be the item. And within half an hour, an hour and a half, or 2 hours from now, I should be happy, because if the item will be screened, it means another 200,000 Israelis will join us in this.
No, since Israel is open for tourists now, and when you were in the Camry, there were shows with subtitles to English once a week, right?
Yeah.
For years. So what do you do now in Habima that would
address I call it Subtitles, Tzili, because it's on the top of the screen.
Right.
Subtitles. Twice a week, Tuesday and Saturday, there is English subtitle. There are English subtitles in all the productions, and every night 4 different performances or productions all around the big hall. Or I mean, we have Mamma Mia, for example, an American musical, and we have some other like Hamlet and some other productions that are Israeli productions. But we have subtitles twice a week. Once a week, we have subtitles or subtitles in Russian for the Russian new immigrant, and for the mass of immigration that came to Israel from Ukraine recently, and you will not believe, but the only country in the world that supplied them tickets to theater is Israel, not only to Habima. By the way, they received tickets from the municipality of Tel Aviv for exhibition, for concerts and theater. Wow. Food and tickets. I think it's something that America doesn't know about it.
Right. No, Tzipi is going to burst out. So,
but the people are very, very well educated, cultural.
No. It's because, you know, if we are addressing it in English to outside people, I think it's more to the point to talk about what does it mean to be artistic director of a theater, or what you're looking for, or what's your vision, because they chose you not because you only know to raise money.
But he's not the artistic director.
You know, he's like, I know.
I am the director general, I'm the head of the theater, but aside is an artistic director who, by the way, is now in Montreal, in Canada, because he is a musical that has been written by a very well-known Israeli singer, Keren Peles. He's working now in Montreal. But
come on, Noam, we know that they chose you because your vision about the theater.
Because you're forced.
Because how much you care for the place of the theater, especially in a country like Israel. Mm-hmm. You are very strong in protecting your actors, so they will be able even to express their political views, to be free. I'm sure that you are part of selecting or being in cooperation with your artistic director, what place to show. So I think that I would more interested to know about you, to know about your vision, because the time today are so stormy, right? So, and you told us that you are looking for other avenues, and I don't know if you are even considering to have plays in Zoom. I don't know if
we did some production in Zoom, but I want to speak about the content of the plays.
Yes, that's what I want.
At the moment I came to Habima, together with my colleague, Captain Moshe, we initiated plays about Leah Goldberg, the poetess, the national poetess of Israel, Yalik, the national poet during the 50s and the 40s, a play about its 50 years or more than 50 years of the Eichmann trial. Adolf Eichmann trial, it was the big event in Israel. There will be next year a play about the trial and about the family of the whole staff or the whole crew that represented Israel. Attorney General Gideon Hausner, he pledged for Israel. He said when he opened the first session of the trial, I am here on behalf of 6 million victims. And this is a slogan in Israel, 6 million victims. The number 6 million. So there will be a play about Adolf Eichmann and the trial. There will be a play about Ida Nudel, a prisoner, a Zionist prisoner in Russia, and her fight to immigrate to Israel, and the songs. There will be all kinds of initiatives that I pushed and together with the artistic staff, and I believe that we'll be seeing them next year. But even now we have all kinds of productions. For example, we are very close to something that we mark in Israel, the Holocaust Memorial Day in Israel. It will take place, I believe, in the middle of April or the end of April. There will be on stage at Habima 8 different plays. The theme is the memory of the time of the Holocaust.
We have a wonderful play by Nava, your wife.
A wonderful play by Nava.
Wonderful play about the Holocaust, and she really carried the torch.
Yeah. You know. And this play will be going, by the way, next in June to Romania, to mark something in Romania and to be presented by the National Theatre of Bucharest. But there is a play by Ruby Porat-Choval, and there is a play by Yishai Sarid, the writer, and there is an American, it's a British-American play by the name Bent, by Martin Sherman.
Yes, right. Yeah.
There are all kinds of plays. There is a new play by Hillel Mittelpunkt about the Jewish Brigade, 1945, and about the band, an Arab band of Jewish people from Palestine at that time that performed in front of the refugees and in front of the Jewish soldiers. The whole story of the Jewish Brigade. So we have a production now, a new production, a big production. And Gila Almagor, First Lady, is the leading part of the play. So there will be discussions with lecturers from Bar Ilan University before the performance and after the performance. 8 different performances of different places.
You bring high school kids to the theater?
Yeah, we are looking for them. We are trying to encourage them. It's not so easy. There are many. For example, since last Tuesday, the horrible events that took place in Israel, that there were all kinds of activities against terrorist activities. We had cancellation of 3,000 high school students during the last week because the parents are afraid to send the high school students to the theater. So I found a solution. The buses will be coming to the entrance of the stage door, not to the main entrance, only from, the venue. And there will be bodyguards, and they will take them from the buses to the backstage, to the stage. And via the stage, they enter the theater, and they came. But 2,000 of them didn't come because of the parents and the teachers. Today, it's a better day, but who knows what will happen tomorrow? Who knows what
what you look for? You look for the audience in this situation in general, what's happening in the last few years. Are they looking for escapism, like to give them shows that would take them away from what's going on? Or they expect you to take and deconstruct and construct reality?
It depends. There are many, many reasons, and we are trying to attract them to come because they feel the house in the balcony, and they give I'm looking all the time that the house will be full wherever, because if Israeli, when he bought a ticket and he's alone in the auditorium, he's against the production. He said, "Okay, you will translate. I'm not a friar, but I'm friar." How do you say friar in English?
Sucker.
It does something like that. So that's secondly, theater needs energy. Theater on stage, and I'm behind stage. Maybe every evening I'm with the actors and with the technicians, and theater needs energy. And if the house is full, it's full of energy, and the production and the performance is much better.
Right. True. Right. So in what way?
So they feel the house, if they can open the theater, is really a melting pot of culture. The Israeli theater is a melting pot. It's in Hebrew.
Amazing. Look at the divisions that we have, but when they come to the theater, we have such division within us.
All with different items, like I gave you some examples, but there are many, many other productions, mainly Israeli plays. But we have also English and American, and we have all kinds of stuff. We have a special play now about the homo-lesbian community. There was a murder 20 years ago in a almost Noir, and a play that is very attractive to the whole population in Israel, because it's about the murder and about what happened after the murder to the parents of one of the victims. So it's an open space, it's an open stage for the Israeli culture and the Israeli agenda. And this is the Israeli
There are
agenda.
4 major theaters in Tel Aviv. There's you, Habima, Akamari, Betlesin, in a Gesher.
And Gesher. Gesher is a Russian.
It used to be a Russian theater. It's more or less, all of you are all more or less the same now. What's the difference between each one, and how do you keep the line not to cross to each other?
It's very difficult for me to answer this question, because until 4 years ago, I used to say that the Kammer Theater is the national theater of Israel. So I cannot be in opposition. But I think in Habima, and I'm only 2 years, Habima has a burden and a history. The burden and the history is the story of Habima. And Habima was born in 1917 in Moscow during the time of the First World War. And Joseph Stalin, who was the Minister of Interiors, he confirmed that the minority called the Jewish people will have a theater, a professional theater. And they did the Dibuk, and they did the internal Jew, Yehudi HaNitzchi. And during the year 1923, when there was a big crisis in the Zionist movement, the leaders of the Zionist movement asked Habima to penetrate or to pave the way to Zionism. Right. And Habima left Moscow with 3 productions and made 1,780 performances from Moscow, Vilna, Rome, Florence, Vienna, up to New York, Baltimore, Miami, and Los Angeles.
I think they were the first ambassadors. Just a second. I think they were the first ambassadors, really, for Zionism, spreading it all over. And then,
you're absolutely
yeah.
Another story about Habima that I told Bibi Netanyahu when he was the prime minister, it was during the COVID-19 and the restriction about theater performances. And I read from a book and I said to him, you will not interrupt me now because this is something that's about the importance of culture. In the year 1936, Berlin, the Nazis ruled Germany, and the Jewish community asked Habima to perform in Berlin. And the government, the Nazi government, agreed that Habima will take a train from Vienna to Berlin to perform in Hebrew with the furnitures, with the costumes, with the sets. And during when they were 20 kilometers from Berlin, Goebbels, who was the Minister of Communication and Propaganda, heard about it and said, "Stop it! Stop them!" And they took them out from the trains and they have left the train and they couldn't come to Berlin. But they agreed to come to Berlin, although they knew it's very dangerous, to boost the morale of the Jewish community in Berlin. 1936, unbelievable. This is Habima. So Habima has the history, the Jewish history, the Zionism. And I am now something like I'm a symbol of a torch of the history of the Jewish people that Habima penetrated into the world, the Zionism and the Jewish people during the Second World War and during the War of Independence in Israel. But Habima performed during the last 104 years without intermission, let's say, without intermission. Yes. And the building that I am managing now has been built from 1939 in the inauguration of the Second World War and was finalized or finished or ended in 1945. We have in the building all kinds of equipment from 1945. And the celebration took place in 1945 with the representative of the British Mandate, and Ben Gurion was the head of the Jewish community, and some heads of community, heads of the community. Anyhow, there is a burden and there is a history and there is a memory, and the theater is full with exhibitions. And I opened the museum in the theater during the last 2 years. Yeah. And I opened the archive. There is an archive of all the documents without any payment, open to the public. And hundreds of students and high school students are coming day by day to the archive of Habima to look for information about poets, about writers. All the poets and writers of the state of Israel began their career with Habima, because when Habima did Shakespeare, they asked Yalik to translate. When Habima did another play, they asked Hazaz, they asked Leah Goldberg, they asked Yuda Amichai, they asked the whole Israeli Jewish community of writers and poets. Some of them are very well known in America. All the names that I mentioned are published in America by many publishers in America at all. Anyhow, so this is the uniqueness of Habima. I cannot speak about the present. I can speak about the past, to be honest.
Are you trying to, two questions I have, not really three, but they're not really connected. Are you trying, or is it possible, or how successful it is to import Israeli, original dramas, plays to the world? Because I don't see many of them around.
First of all, as the head of the Camera Theater of Tel Aviv, and I'm also the initiator and the chairman of the Institute of Israeli Drama to the memory of Hanoch Levin, that translate all the Israeli plays into English or Swedish or German or Chinese. We have now, tonight, you are interviewing me on Sunday. Tonight, the Israeli drama is all around the world. I think we have 25 performances tonight in Beijing, in Kathmandu, in South America, mainly Hanoch Levin, the playwright, and Anat Gov, the female playwright, and Chaim Kishon, and Joshua Sobol, and Edna Mazia. Names maybe are not familiar for your spectators, but Israeli playwrights, and they are produced by different countries all around the world. Every Israeli play is translated immediately to English or Italian or French or Yiddish or Japanese, doesn't matter, immediately. Why? Because we want to promote them. And I'm the chairman of the organization. I'm not working there, I'm only the chairman. There's a lady by the name Shimrit, she is the managing director. And there is a board of directors and board of trustees and all kinds of, and all the Israeli playwrights are represented by this organization.
And where are we, how do they accept us? Where is the best place that they accept?
The best place really is China.
China.
They are mainly about Israeli theater and mainly about Hanoch Levin. Yeah. I have been in China, I believe, 20 times with Israeli companies, and I'll be again there. China, they love Israeli drama. They love Israeli drama.
Can you explain it?
It speaks to them.
Can you explain it?
Yeah.
I can explain. First of all, the play that paved the way to the Israeli drama is Requiem by Levin, by Hanoch Levin. And this is a play about death, but it's inspired by Chekhov. And they are in the play, in the plot, there is life after death, or each person in the drama is an individual, like the individual in the Chinese company, that they were allowed to have one son or one daughter, and that's all. And each one of them is alone. All kind of, that doesn't matter. The drama works. They love the drama. I have a meeting tomorrow with a lady who lives in Tel Aviv. She's married to an Israeli, her name is Yu, and she is bringing now many Israeli drama to China, and more music and all kinds. She's working on bringing to China. But I've been with the Camera Theater in Beijing and in Shanghai and in some other, and there are productions in Chinese of Israeli drama. So, but it's not all China. To be honest with you, South America, Poland, and France. These are the places. Not America, and not Canada, not Australia,
right?
And not Great Britain.
I have another question for you. Are you? I'm sure you are aware, but are you afraid, so-called, that quite a bit of playwrights are trying to get into television?
That I'm afraid
a lot of
what?
Playwrights are trying to go into television.
You are absolutely right. Most of the playwrights moved to television.
Yes.
Because of many reasons. Because of money, because of celebrity, all kinds of reasons, doesn't matter. But we still concentrate on some playwrights or journalists that we ask them to write plays for us. So we are very open, and it's easier and it's much more quicker than television, because in television, as a television director, you know, and you as a television and media producer director, you know, it takes time. It takes a long time to make a drama or to make a series, but it's very short to make a play.
Yes.
And it's expensive. So I encourage them, and we encourage them to do immediately a play, to write a play, and they write plays. I receive hundreds or thousands of scripts of plays from the Israel.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Or thousands even.
Tell me something. Because
their creativity on stage.
I just don't know. I wanted to ask you in the beginning also about the relationship of theater and democracy, because I am kind of dealing with that question quite a bit, especially of what's going now in Israel and other countries. But I don't know, because I thought I want to hear your thoughts.
That week, Oded Kotler who is a very good friend of mine, and I replaced him at the Haifa Theater in 1980. And thanks to him, I became a theater director, received the Israel Award. Right. The Israel Award is a symbol. There is an opposition to the decision of the committee, but he's a fighter. He's a fighter for democracy. He's a fighter for human rights. He's a fighter on stage and behind the curtain. And the fact that he received the Israel Award for theater and dance, by the way, this is the category, means a lot. That fighters for human rights and fighters for democracies has a future, and not and they can go on with their activity and kindness and they receive from the government or from the state of Israel the honor that they deserve. Yes. And I'm very happy. I was very happy when I heard that Kotler received the most important award
of the Israeli drama.
Theater and dance. This is, by the way, the category, the Israel Award for Theater and Dance. Yes. I received it as representative of the Kamari Theater, not in the year 2006, because the Kamari Theater in Israel that was founded in 1944 for the 6th anniversary of the theater, I and the late Omri Nitzan, the artistic director, we both of us received the award from the president of Israel.
That's wonderful. Yeah, but but I referring more, I was thinking about, so the audience come, to the theater, they come as individuals, but if the play is good, they walk out as kind of community, right? Yeah. But on the stage, actually, there is a lot of, I don't know how to call it, values, principles of democracy. There are people, different views, conflict, you have to somehow share,
You are right, there is an internal censorship, I call it, an internal, but even at the Habima National Theater of Israel, I believe that we'll open the stage for all kinds of writing. Right. And you are absolutely right, although it's very dangerous because you get your subsidy from the government. It's not like in America that you get it from the regional area or in Israel, you get it from the government and the municipality. But the cleverness of a management of theater is to pave the way behind the curtain, under the radar, to do it. And we do some productions like that on stage, and we'll do again, and we'll do more, and we shall examine historical facts or historical decisions or governmental figures. We'll touch them. We'll touch them in the future.
And you think that there is a power to the theater to change attitudes?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure the theater can change, but the theater can open the door to the mind of the people, can pave the way to some thinking, another thinking. And that's the reason whenever we did in the past a play against the occupation or against all kinds of activities in the Israeli regime, there were many, many attacks from politicians, because the politicians are very afraid, much afraid from theater, much more than movie, a film, or a television, because the theater is much more, I don't know how to explain it, but they are very much afraid from something that will be said on stage against them or against their agenda. So,
right.
You have to be very secure and very gutsy. I remember, Noam, when we did Flyshare, remember, years ago.
Yeah, of course.
And nobody wanted to touch it. It was against the Orthodox community.
Nobody touched it. You're right.
And it took...
And then I took it to New York. Took it to New York, the Brooklyn Academy of Music. Right. When it succeeded in New York, we could run more and more and more.
Right.
It was prestigious. All of a sudden, it became prestigious. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I had an actor by the name Yossi Adin, who was an Israel Award winner, and he has lost his brother in the War of Independence, and his another brother was the chief of staff and the deputy prime minister of the state of Israel. He was a legendary figure, and he could fight with the ultra-Orthodox Jews that were against the play, because the play was about survivors who fought about the property in a poor neighborhood between them and the ultra-Orthodox Jews. It was who owns the land, the ultra-Orthodox Jews or the Holocaust survivors. And I remember, Tzili, you knew Zarira Harifai, a very famous actress, and she took her arm when she confronted the rabbi, and she did like this. He knew who is a Jew. He knew, he meant Hitler. He knew who is a Jew, and the number was here. And this was a scene that the whole audience clapped hands. So,
there's something very interesting about the way the world perceived the Israeli theater, and it's always more successful in the Eastern European part, in South America, which is Eastern European Jews, and the Far East, which is ancient people. When you come to America, and it's so interesting because they also came from Eastern Europe, but they perceive things differently. Because I remember when we did Flyshare in the BEM, Jews didn't like to see that in Israel something bad is happening among the Orthodox. And the thing is that it's like we opened the door for them to see Israel as a state with problems, not only with goodies for the American Jews. The way that they wanted to see Israel and the way they wanted to think about Israel is very different. They didn't feel like all the other places that say, oh, Israel is human, they have problems. It opens a very different dialogue with this part of the world.
You are absolutely right, but I think the Jewish people in America and in Europe has changed their attitude towards Israel. Israel is very, very proud to show the democracy, even in theater and in the movies. And the question is that if it's good, if it has some narrative, some values, if the play or the movie has some, there is a confrontation every time when we send abroad a film or an exhibition or a book or a theater, because we are still a small community. And if there is a movie, we say, this is the representative of Israel. This is not the representative of Israel. This is the representative of the artists and the creators. And the theater is the representative of the country, although it's a public theater. We represent the playwright and the director and the actors, period. That's it. And we are very courageous, and we can examine our life in Israel much better and much more than any other foreigner, including Jewish community.
So what changed? What changed in the last way? Since you started 25 years ago, what changed from then to now?
Change. It's you speak about Israel or Israel?
Israel, now in Israel, and then of course Israel. And
in Israel, we were much more open-minded after the 73 war. And things had happened to the Israeli culture, in my opinion, in the last decade. In the last decade, except the Israeli movies. The Israeli movies are the most courageous content for the public. The theater is not so much. Hanoch Levin passed away. Hillel Mittelpunkt don't write the same. Joshua Sobol. We are not in the same level as the movies or television, in my opinion. Maybe it's now the role of television and the movies to be the torch of democracy, the torch of the open-minded. It's a question of, it's not a question, it's the historical facts. But I believe in a very political and relevant theater all my life. When I ran the Haifa theater, when I ran the Charney theater, when festivals, to be a relevant political Israeli Jewish theater, not to be afraid to show even some sicknesses in your company or in your society.
So now you're asking why they took you away. I mean, not took you away. I mean, after you left the camera, now they took you away and put you again to do this. It's a process. It's not because
the rules of the municipality of Tel Aviv. When you reach the age 70 years old, you have to retire from a cultural center organization. But now I came back thanks to the president of the High Court of Israel,
That's wonderful.
And the trustee. And the mayor of Tel Aviv accepted the idea that I shall be the director general for the next 2 years because of my experience, because of so many other reasons, I don't know. But they had found how to make an hechsher, as is a kosher.
Well, in the beginning, I said it. You protect your actors, you protect your...
The word kosher will be translated into English by you. How do you translate kosher?
Culture.
Culture or kosher? What did you say?
Kosher.
Kosher. You don't translate kosher. Everybody knows what is kosher, what is schmack, what is, there's a few of them. Schmaltz.
Chutzpah.
Yeah. That's okay.
This is all known. But Noam, we know your ability and your forces, and of course Ron Huldai knows it well, and everybody else. And I think that Habima is very lucky to have you getting them out of the mud and take them everywhere. But anyway, we have to...
I just want one question, because I'm sorry about my ignorance, and I should have checked it. Did you try to act, to be an actor, or to be a playwright? Did you write a play?
I played in the serious chazarot rehearsals.
That's right. Yes. And speak about theater.
In theater, I played one production, one or two. I played in a production called Nephilim, in English, Giants, and I performed as Menachem Begin, the Prime Minister of Israel, during the time of the Lebanon War, next to Menashe Noy, a very well-known actor. A play by Jonathan Levy and directed by Jonathan Levy. It opened the Israel Festival, and I played in another play, but I don't remember now. But many television scenes. Guri Alfi, I made for him a scene as a medical doctor in an hospital.
Did you try to write a play? Did you try to write? Did you try to write a play? Did you write it?
No, I didn't. No. I'm behind the curtain. I am a mover. I'm doing all the activity behind the curtain, and maybe sometimes in front of the curtain, because I pave the way to the public to enter to the theater or to the movie. But recently I wrote a book that will be published at the end of the year about all the meetings that I did during my life with all kind of artists and actors, and not only artists, also all kind of politicians, artists, historians in New York during the 4 years that we spent in New York, and in Israel, and in all my trips all around the world, in China, in Russia. But it's only about them, not about me. Not about
I just want, listen, but I look at you and I listen to you, and I have kind of surrealistic reason why you didn't act more. You're so authentic. You don't need to go into a play rolling.
Not anybody's text.
Do you know what I mean?
You
don't have to go into a character and find within yourself and your bank of emotions another character. I mean, I think it has to do something with your...
No, I know that in Hebrew, I'm a very good storyteller. Storyteller, to tell stories about culture.
Yeah.
Because I had the opportunity, I'm very happy about the fact that since 1968 I'm in show business. So and thanks to my brother, who was the artistic director of Esther and Abi Ofarim, a duo, Israeli duo that were very popular in Europe. Yeah. And thanks to all kind of chances that I had in my life. During the last 55 years, I'm saying about myself, how do you say in English, betzad habama? In betzad habama.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
The side of the stage, not the center stage. But the truth is that your voice is very strong as it is, and to use your voice in somebody else's voice, it's a waste.
Yeah, but he very much, that other one person which has your talents and ability and force, it's actually, what is his name, Oscar artist from the Public Theater. I'm sure he has the same kind, you're like brothers, the way you...
I know him very well, and by the way, I imported to Israel a production by the name The Human Scale, by a very well-known journalist that won a very well.
Yeah, we know.
And it's what's about this history of Gaza. Play was about the story of Gaza, and we performed it in the Camera Theater. Believe me, it was very courageous to bring it.
I remember.
To do it in New York at the Public Theater in 425 Lafayette Street, it's very easy. To do it in Dizengoff Street in Tel Aviv, where
very gutsy.
Place where many bombing took place of buses and horrible events of criminal activities or brutal activities, or I don't know how to say it, but all kind of so many casualties, and to bring such a play. And by the way, I invited people from Ramallah, from the Palestinian zone, to pay a visit to the production of The Human Scale of Oscar Eustis, the Public Theater.
Right.
By the way,
Habima is lucky. Habima is lucky to have
everybody's lucky. It's not
everybody's lucky.
I don't know. I have to pay. We have to pay income tax and salaries and insurance. And during the last 1 hour, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 messages from directors, stage managers, technicians, poets.
We don't feel bad for you.
No,
we don't feel bad for you.
What will happen?
What
will happen tomorrow?
But we're very happy to talk to you. And I think it's very important that you will reach your vision everywhere.
It's a great honor to be interviewed by you in English, although my English is
wonderful,
fluent as all these
good enough.
Up in America.
Wait, let me just finish with Beba Edelson came to America on NBC, and she said women in Israel do not only wash vesh. You know? So you don't have to apologize for your English. Believe me, that was really.
Just keep doing what you do, and we'll talk more. And Noam,
thank you so much for coming. It was really very enlightening.